We'll be going live in about 2 minutes. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Righto, we're on. Well, at least I think we are. I'm a little bit rusty on this. I've had a few little technical issues straight up just to test me. Anyway, welcome guys. Please let me know if you can't hear me. I'm hoping you can see me. Well, maybe that's not such a good thing either. But already I'm seeing a few familiar faces pop up, and one day, Richard, someone's going to beat you to be the first one to pop up a comment. But welcome back, guys. I see Shane put up a comment already. Shane Gibb, I'll answer that in a second, Shane. It's a good opening question. I can see Marty, Jamie, Stephen Popey, Justin White, Ernest. I think Ernest has got a bit of a gun sight happening as well too now, from what I understand. Christian Hunters Australia, Matty Cato, long-time Patreon subscriber. And while I'm on that, thanks to everyone that has been one of our subscribers, and even a bigger thank you to all those patrons that have become Patreons over the time and have really made a massive difference to sort of the viability of the channel. But yeah, I don't really know what to say at this stage. I didn't think we'd be in the same situation in July as pretty much what we were last year. Lockdown sucks balls, that's for sure, but we just got to deal with it. Who else we got up here? We got Eric Hunter, Phantom HD, Rover Silver, Zach Roberts. Yeah, I knew he'd get into me. Yeah, I thought if we could beat the Port Power, we've done really well, but yeah, good win, mate, good win. Triple Lock Off-Road GT. It's good to hear that you can hear me okay, mate. Chris Oda. Yeah, all good, mate. John Fuller, that's great. And here's Joey Layalot. I hope you and the family are well, mate. Another, yeah, long-time subscriber and Patreon. Thanks very much, Joe. It's very much appreciated. We'll catch up soon, mate. Reggie Parker, good on you, mate. Thank you. Chris Das, enjoying watching your video. Well, you've only seen it for a few seconds so far, so don't get too excited. It could go downhill from here. The Win338, how are you, mate? Good evening. Well, let's hope lockdown finishes this week and we can all get out again. Well, mate, I hope you are 100% right, because at this very moment I should have been sitting around a campfire well and truly into the high country. We've had to delay our trip, but I know many others have as well. So we'll get out there. But in all fairness, the rivers are up, the temperature's down. I may sound a little bit sooky, but maybe it wasn't the best week to go in either. So anyway, Wayne Spiteri, Stuart Nankerville, I hope I'm saying these names right. Reese Furlong, Michael Montanari. G'day, mate. Glad you love the vids. Let's see if we can start moving down here a little bit. Start firing up some of the questions, guys. It's only going to be me tonight. I'd love to have Lethal on here, but to be honest with you, next time we do a Q&A, I want to do it side by side. The Zoom side of it's just not the same. So anyway, at this stage, I'm going to answer Shane's question, if I can remember it, straight up. He asked what I would pick in a Seiko in a 223. Look, I do have a fair affiliation with the old Seiko L461s A1 series, and in reality that would be my choice if you could find one in really, really good condition. But unless you really need a top feed rifle, don't count it just going for the Tikkas and putting that money saved back into a good scope. The other rifle brand that I think is really going to take off and sort of stamp the authority in time will be the Bergaras. For those people that don't really know much about them, they're pretty much a mix of a Remington action. Basically are a Remington footprint with the best part of Seiko and whatnot inside. They've got a Seiko sort of old style claw extractor. Triggers may not be 100% as good as, say, the Seiko out of the box, but again, being a Remington clone, you can pretty much put on whatever aftermarket things that's available for Remington. And they're at a great price and they top feed. So if top feed is a sort of something you really want, and in a 223 or sort of a varmint caliber, I do prefer a top feed myself over a magazine. I just like to be able to fire a couple of shots, do it without even looking, just pop them straight in from the top until it stops, and you're good to go. So yeah, Bergara would certainly be worth keeping an eye on. I'm actually very interested to see what their new release is going to be in their little 22 action or little rimfire action later in the year with a carbon fibre barrel. So that will be very interesting, and I'm very keen to actually lay my hands on one of those as well. So anyway, Shane, that's my thoughts. It's just my opinion. But anyway, that's a good question to open up. So let me just go back here. I can see a few rolling down here. I'll just make sure I'm right up with everyone. Eddie Pay, Pig Dog Cara, first time on the live stream, Steve. Love your work, bud. Regards, George. Thanks, George. I'm pretty sure George will correct me here, but I'm pretty sure George has got another Vizsla as well. Zachy Roberts, how's the thermal stuff going? It's certainly different. And realistically, I think if we had this stuff 20, 30 years ago, nothing would have been around. Obviously, the places we go at the moment, the rabbits and fox numbers are really down. But I just find walking around with it, what it allows you to do, and the few times that I've actually used it so far, is certainly, for want of better words, a game changer. Look, I think it's like opening Pandora's box when you look at brands and what's available, and that's going to be continually evolving. And I think this year you're going to see more and more of the sort of the larger core units come out, going away from the 320s to the 640s. So definitely it's sort of watch this space. I'll be keeping a close eye on it, but if you really, really want to look at someone that knows the business as far as thermals, jump over to Nathan's site, Edge of the Outback. He's right up with the whole thing, and he's very much OCD on all the technical side of it, so he knows far more than I do. Righto, Velvet, any backpack hunting on the cards and who with? Yeah, mate, as I said, we were supposed to be hiking in on Friday, but that's just been postponed. It was going to be myself, Big Benny, Paul, and young Jake, the four of us going in. So stay tuned, watch this space. Eventually, we'll get in there. MB, TNT no longer shipping firearms, etc. Your thoughts? Yeah, it's always going to be an issue, I think. One that's going to really be a bit of a challenge in the future. I have no real answers for it. It's just part and parcel of the times. I know it's not only with firearms. I know all the alien powders, they were struggling to get them out of Queensland, which was basically making all the Reloader series of powders, which is some of my favourites, especially the Reloader 22 in the 7mm, was getting very hard to get. So in reality, I don't know. I'm hoping that whether the suppliers and that can find an independent that can get around these little hurdles, and we can move forward, because yeah, that's the last thing we need. Michael Zephyrus, really enjoy the channel. Thanks, mate. I wish we could put more up, but obviously this COVID scenario and lockdown has restricted what we can do. Michael O'Sullivan's on. Matty Cato. I put a challenge down for Matty today. Give me a question that might stump me. Well, he's put up a pretty good one straight up. Best fox call for this time of year. Distress call or fox barks? Look, as I always say, I always try and have some form of whistle around my neck, and probably at the moment the little go-to to me is that little T2, purely because it's like two whistles in one. Fox barks or fox calls, I've actually, if I hear them during the night, or I've heard them previous nights, I do have a couple of recorded fox calls on the Icotec. Haven't used it a lot, but in the couple of times that I have during the day, they definitely have got their attention. Excuse me. Righto. Come on, Matty. You've got to fire up a better question than that one. Come on. But it was good. Robert Stojewski. Hope I've said that right, mate. Hey, mate. Your trigger finger must be itchy like the rest of us. Can't wait for lockdown to be over. 100%, mate. It's as itchy can be. Right. Let's... Oh, I don't know. This is what happens to me here. It skips up a bit. So I've just... Bear with me here, and I'll make sure it doesn't get me right out of step. Okay. Bertros, have you had any luck on the bunnies lately? Finding an easier find Sambar currently? Yeah, I never thought I'd say the day that I've actually seen Sambar in amongst the bunnies, and not many more bunnies than I've seen Sambar in some locations. It's a shame. It's sort of like for the rabbits, it was always a job that we did for the farmers, keeping on top of their numbers and whatever. And you're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place now as a hunter that loves to hunt rabbits. I'd love to have some of the numbers, even half the number, a quarter of the numbers back that we used to have. But at the same time, we've got to make sure we keep on top of these numbers and reducing them if they do escalate. Yes, I haven't seen a lot. Rabbits are resilient. Whether they come back to the numbers of years ago, time will tell. But look, as long as I can see enough around fire the odd shot of rimfire, I'll be a happy camper. But yeah, the Sambar situation, Sambar are definitely broadening their geography. And I only just seen one up the road, dead on the side of the road, about a kilometre away the other day. So yeah, bunnies definitely they're in patches. Like a lot of places that I've got people up around Ballarat area and stuff like that in the colder climates. The rabbits seem to have didn't get knocked over as much, and a lot of guys have seen there's quite a few down the peninsula as well. So yeah, definitely in certain patches, but certainly not the numbers that we used to have them. All right, Christian Hackle, have you heard much about GPO scopes? Any good? I haven't personally used them. picked them up in the shops. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think they're German made or European made. Look, usually price reflects quality to a degree, and I'd say that they're far from a bad scope. But look, don't forget that it's not just the scope that you've got to look at. It's when you start to get up in the upper market, you've got to look at your backup and how good that backup is from the company that supplies them or manufactures them. So to answer your question, they look well constructed, but no personal use for myself. All right, let me see if I can scroll down without losing myself here. All right. Yeah, Luke Y. Hey mate, what do you rate the Caldwell Rock Junior rifle rest? Any alternatives you could suggest? Also, rifle rests versus bipods. I'm not 100% familiar with that exact rifle rest, Luke, but the funny thing is I just bought one yesterday that popped up on Facebook. It was about $30 and it's very, very similar. And I'm sure other people have seen them too. It's a no-name Chinese brand most likely. So for the price, I think it was either side of $50 delivered. I thought I'm going to give it a go. So yeah, I can't look. Most of the Caldwell stuff's pretty good, but whether it's the best or best value, I can't answer that one for you, mate. Rifle rests versus bipods. Good question. Look, I don't tend to put a bipod on a rifle unless I'm going to actually use that bipod for probably 90% of the time. I just find there is limited times that you're actually going to be able to put yourself in a prone position in a hunting scenario. Excuse me, that pizza's for yeah, bipods are great for sort of varmint scenario where you're going to be on the ground just about 90% of the shots. I don't like having a bipod attached to my firearm if I may use it 5 or 10% of the time, and hence why we go for shooting sticks. I just find sitting position, dropping to your butt, resting across your legs and using the shooting sticks a far better option in most hunting scenarios. Rifle rests or bags, I prefer on the bigger calibers when I'm sighting my rifles, but I still will use a bipod and a rear bag for sighting smaller calibers. Aaron Kelly. Hey Robbo, do you rate Cerakote as a coating for an older rifle for protection for a hunting rifle? Another great question there. In all fairness, I think Cerakoting is very similar to powder coating in it's only as good as how well it's applied. Look, I had some racks made by, I made some racks for my quad bike many years ago, and the guy that I got to powder coat it would only do the jobs if he could sandblast it, undercoat it, and then powder coat it. And that powder coating has been through hell on that bike, and it's hardly got a mark on it. And in my opinion, if you're going to get it Cerakoted, you really need to make sure the person that is actually doing it or the company that's doing it goes through the preparation to make sure that it sticks well. And I believe there's a few different types of Cerakoting now as well. So look into the company that's doing it, and definitely, if it's done well, it's a really good option. Reg Parker, how did you find using the thermal? Well, the few times I've used it, Reg, yeah, look, realistically, as probably the last video that I put up, walking around, not on a vehicle, with the thermal, definitely puts you right in amongst it. And something that I probably haven't done in that scenario ever before. Like, I've walked around with torches and backpacks with batteries and spotlights and that. But as soon as you shine that light around, you've given away your location. With a thermal, you're not giving away your location at all. And I've been learning a lot from Nathan and just the red headlamp moving around like that, it simply is a game changer. And look, if it's used well and used for vermin control and that, I think the thermals are a really, really good tool in your arsenal. Phantom HD, how are you liking the night vision scope? Well, if you're talking about the PARD, the NV008, good little scope, but night vision to me, in comparison to the thermal, I think depends where you're hunting. In my locations where I was hunting, there's a lot of longer grass, kabungi grass and that, and the illuminator just flared the unit up so many times. So if you're after a PARD, an NV008, I've actually got it, I've just had it here. This one has been totally modified with a quick release base, and it's actually been angled to suit so the reticle lines up. So if anyone's interested, contact me privately because that will be up for sale. All right, where are we? The Wind 338. I have just bought a Christensen Arms Ridgeline in 300 Win Mag and ready to start loading. Any suggestions on powder and 200 grain projectile? Has a 1 in 10. Nah, mate, 300 Win Mag is not a rifle I've ever owned or loaded for, so I really can't help you there. But I think the 200 grain projectile is going to be a really good choice, and obviously that sort of setup is designed and aimed more towards a long range. So I would be going a projectile that is sort of got a fair ballistic coefficient, something like the ELDX, ELDM. Yeah, and just make sure your 1 in 10 twist. Just make sure that the projectiles are matched to that twist rate, because that can be a deal breaker. I found with the 175 grain in the 7mm Rem Mag, when I really pushed them hard, yeah, they started to open up the groups. So yeah, didn't really like it. And mine, I think off the top of my head, was a 1 in 9 twist, and yeah, it's basically wasn't matched to the hatch really. And yeah, as soon as I went over the 162s, pushed the 175s fast, groups opened up. Oz Outdoor Ventures, thanks mate. Dave Tozer, how are you, Dave? I've been watching your videos today, lucky bastard. He's been going across the middle of Australia. He's still in the hills eating deer. Good on you, good on you. Well, I need to have a cold refreshment then. Wow, now here's an interesting question. Cameron McKenzie. Lately I've been craving a PCP air gun. Talk me out of it. I can't talk you out of it, mate. Besides it being reasonably weighty, yeah, the technology in these new air rifles, and if you look at some of the South African channels on them, with these up to 30, I think 35 caliber now, with different, you can swap the barrels over. The technology, not only in the actual rifles, but in the actual pellets, and I say pellets because what we call slugs, they call pellets, and what we call pellets, they call slugs, but it's become super accurate, super dynamic on vermin and even bigger targets. But price is reflected. They're not cheap. I think the Air FX is one of the better ones, and there's a lot of different types. Yeah, definitely something that I'm trying to stay away from because they are very cool. All right, and I'm getting a lot of messages coming in here. I'm just making sure everything's going all right here, because I'm always got a bit of a delay here. So what we got here? RC, the game regulations are up for review next year. With projectile advancements in mind, is time to lower the minimum caliber for Sambar to allow 6.5mm to be used. Not suggesting any changes in weights. Yeah, look, I can't see why the 6.5 in the right cartridge is out of the question. But then again, at what point are you going to stop to? So it's a little bit like the footy. I'm not always, all these changes and continual changes often piss me off. So, yeah, look, to be honest with you, I'm happy to leave it where it is. But, yeah, I'm always open to listening to what they're talking about. But if any changes, 6.5mm, right cartridge. Yeah, I think it's certainly up to the job with the right pill. Stephen Popey, how are you, mate? Robert Bagara, what good single shot caliber? Well, as most would know, I've had one of the little Bagara BA13 takedowns, probably one of the first that arrived in the country. And I love that little thing, and probably more so now, more so now that I've changed it from the Holosun to the little Z6 1-6. The field of view, it's not the lightest rifle, but it balances well. I feel quite safe with a round in the chamber, just the way the hammer system works. So, yeah, look, my brother's got the same in a 222, and with his hand loads, virtually shoots a 5-cent group. So, great little rifle, great little rifle. Hey, Dan Stevens, how are you, mate? It's good to see your name pop up. Old Stan, long-range pensioner. How are you, Stan? Liking the live stream during lockdown. Yeah, I know. I could think of better things to be doing, but I think we all need to stick together in this scenario. Hunting for sanity. Love the vids. Thanks, mate. Hopefully we'll be able to pump out a few more over the next few months. Oh, now, here we go. Blimey. Dominic Swab, thought on a Hungarian Vizsla versus a German wire hair pointer. Also loving the vids. Look, really, I don't think there's going to be much in the dogs, to be honest with you. Look, it comes down to how much time and effort you're prepared to put in the training of them. It's as simple as that. You get out of a dog what you put into it. And you also have to look at your location, the scenarios, whether you can seriously put the time into that dog and in the right location. So to be honest with you, look, Lee's obviously got April Vizsla, beautifully natured. And yeah, she's just a pleasure to be around. And she's, besides being a hunting dog, she is just a great companion dog for Lee. And loyal as loyal. She will not, if he goes out of her sight for more than a minute, she'll be looking for him. Paul J, g'day mate. Yeah, g'day to you too, Paul. Alex Inge, how heavy is the sleeping bag you run, mate, and what is it rated to? Ooh, how heavy? Always heavier than you want it to be. But I've got a few different sleeping bags. The one I was going to take in with us this time, it was the top of the range Kathmandu. Now I'm trying to think of the model of it, but whatever it was, it's damn good. But don't just think having a good sleeping bag is going to be the be all and end all when you're in the high country and in cold conditions. Keeping that insulation between you and the ground is the key, because don't forget, when you lay on your sleeping bag, most of that down is going to be crushed down literally and not be of much use. So you really want a good insulated mat underneath you, and I still prefer the down mats myself. Right, but how much does it weigh? Probably, I'd say somewhere between 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos maximum, off the top of my head. MB happening in Canada too. Oh, don't tell me you're in lockdown too, mate. But I hope I hope we're coming through loud and clear here, and I hope all is well over there. And thanks for tuning in. Hunting for sanity. How do you like your Lithgow, mate? As I'm real keen for one or more. The Lithgow LA101 I've got, besides being sort of what I wouldn't class as a light sporter, it is a crossover, has been mentioned to me, and it is sort of mid-weight rifle. It's really reinvented the 22 Magnum for me. I had a 22 Magnum many years ago, and between the rifle and the poor choice of ammunition, I got rid of it. But then I was always craving a Magnum in a rimfire again. Went to the 17 HMR. The 17 is fine, besides a few issues we had with ammunition at some stage early on, where they were cracking necks and misfiring and all that. It's a great, what I'd class as a longer range rabbit gun. It's okay on foxes. In reality, the 22 mag with the choices now of ammunition, if you can find an accurate rifle, and this little 101 is bloody good, really good as far as accuracy. Trigger off straight out is a little bit heavy for me. A lot of people would probably be fine with it, but I just changed the trigger spring, a fraction of creep in it, but other than that, flawless little rifle, and I'm proud to say that it is an Australian manufactured firearm. Right, here we go on here. Phantom H. FedEx policy is not to take firearms. FedEx owns TNT. Yeah, well, they're all in bed with one another. MB, yet I didn't see anything about a ban by FedEx in the US. No, they'd be probably too paranoid to do that over there. Liam Taylor, hunt Sambar or hunt fallow? Well, why not do both? Because in a lot of places I go, they've got both. So realistically, it's hard not to really enjoy hunting fallow in the rut. When you hear that croaking and that, it's sort of a challenge to getting closer, even if it's just for look. Probably can make it a little bit too easy when you come to shooting them, but you've still got to find them. You've still got to shoot them. You've still got to get them out. Look, either one for me, I love to do. And Sambar is probably goes into the more harsher environment, where fallow are usually more fringe country. So it depends what you like doing. There's no right or wrong. The Hunter's Ministry. Hi, Steve. Good to see you back up and running. Yeah, well, I'm here. I don't know about the running business, but here we go. Who's sending me messages? Matty Cato. I don't know. What's he want? Tell me it's not coming through badly or something. But where are we? I lost my place here. All right. Where do you sit on fair chase? Oh, long range, thermal, etc. Look, I think you've got to weigh up whether something is what we class as hunting, shooting, and I tend to think we do both. And a lot of times I will need to use different methods to eradicate deer, rabbits, foxes and whatever. And as long as they're used correctly, I have no issue with it. But I can see where thermals, for argument's sake, it can be abused, and that's up to the individual not to do it. If they choose to do it, well, they're breaking the law. It's as simple as that, and they need to have the full strength of the law come down on them. Me personally, I think used in the right scenario, I have no problems with any of those that you mentioned. Bertrand, spotlighting of deer seems to be still an increasing problem, with numerous stags being found headless, herd shots throughout the nights in Wannangatta a few weeks ago. How should we try stop them? Look, it's difficult, mate. People seem to be literally blazing and sort of flaunting the rules. I personally don't know how they do it. I literally would be scared shitless to go and do what half they do, just worrying about the repercussions. But many do. Look, I think the laws need to be really tough. I think there needs to be more patrolling, which is easy to say. But most of these people that do it are in the know. They know where they can go, when they can't go, when they can go. I'm afraid it's not an easy scenario, and I don't think a lot of there's no easy way around it. The people are to blame. people have got to take the responsibility for it. If you want to go in and chase deer easily, yeah, you're missing half what deer hunting's about, in my opinion. Zach Roberts, man of your age, I hope that's non-alcoholic. Yeah, Pepsi Max, mate, Pepsi Max tonight. RC, Steve, what are your thoughts on the 7mm 08 caliber? Is it viable 308 alternative? Any thoughts on the Finlight too? 7mm 08 is a great caliber. It offers speed and the 7mm projectile in the lower weights. I don't know if I'd be shooting a 162 in it, but the lower weights in it can work really well. Is it a viable option with a 308? Well, I think you're going to find more, probably more options in the 308, as in you're going to walk into probably just about every shop and be able to buy 308. A lot of bigger shops will have 7mm 08, but if you were to compare one against the other, I think the 308 will have easier access to components. Finlight 2, yeah, look, personally, after carrying around my Tikka with the carbon fibre stock, let's just say the Finlight 2 is not what I'd class as light. Yeah, and would it be probably my first choice now if you want a lighter weight rifle? I'd probably say no, it wouldn't be something I would go for myself. Chris Legend Legendary, howdy, how are you, mate? What are your thoughts? Now, this is Reggie Parker. What are your thoughts on a large caliber shooting range in eastern suburbs? Seeing the Eagle Park is too far to drive. Mate, that would be absolutely fantastic. There was talk about a range getting built. I think it was an indoor range in Pakenham, but they'll be right up against it now, especially as Pakenham is building up so much. Dominic Swab, we have a few foxes around our property but can't call them in. I'm using a button whistle. Are they any good? I'm thinking T2. Look, all whistles have their times, but when you whistle them in, if you don't shoot them, you're only going to educate them. So don't keep whistling. If you're going to get a T2 and try a different tone, be prepared the first time they come in to shoot them, because you're only going to educate them otherwise. But in its normal scenario, I've used a little button whistle for years, and I still usually have one on my bike or somewhere with me. It doesn't get a lot of use now, but they've still called in many of foxes over the years. Trailblazing adventures. Bunnies are crazy on the peninsula too. Constantly an issue on horse adjustment properties. Yes, very much so. The horsey people don't like rabbit holes. Jam. Do you prefer eating sambar or fallow? Look, in reality, either of them cooked well is going to be good. I think most venison is let down by cooking methods, not so much the meat. How it's looked after it's been hung or after you've shot it is also a big key into it. So look, I really don't have a preference one or the other. Joe Loyalot, Sambar hunting in the afternoon. Do you prefer sit and wait or stalking? I think there's a time and place for everything. Depends on the day. If it's when you're moving in the bush, you're back in there. You're in their territory. The advantages to them. But if it's windy and it's wet on the ground and the wind's in your favour, I'd probably, and you can see a lot, and depending on time of day, I'd be enjoying the stalk. But bear in mind, if it's wet and windy and whatever, those deer are going to be bedded down, and they're most likely going to stand up in front of you before you've even seen them. So if we go into a new location and we haven't been in there first, probably the first day or half a day or however long you've got, I would spend in getting a bit of elevation and just glassing. It could be time well spent, because if you can locate them first, you're in with a chance. But even if you do locate them, don't make a beeline straight for them, because it's not the one you're looking at that's going to be the issue. It's going to be the one that you haven't seen that's going to be the one that busts you. All right. Dan Stevens, shooting 40 to 50 rabbits each outing, 30 minutes from Ballarat at the moment. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, Dan. You're not the first one telling me that up that way. So it's good and bad, I suppose. Bad for the farmers, but good for us to see some few bunnies still around. Triple locked off-road GT. Robbo, I'm currently waiting for my gun licence to come through. 8 weeks now, after a 25 years spell from shooting. I want to hunt deer, so my question is, 3006 recoil too much for a newish shooter? It can be savage, the 3006, depending on the rifle and rifle build. Obviously, the lighter the rifle, the more you're going to feel it. But it also comes down to the construction of the stock. So, look, if you've done a fair bit of shooting before, for the amount of shots you're going to fire, say for a deer hunting rifle, which is 3006, I don't think it's going to be an issue. But don't be afraid to, like there is sometimes quite a difference between, say, a 150 and a 200 grain, the felt recoil in your shoulder, just from upping the projectile weight. So if you go maybe a lighter round, maybe a 150 or 165 in a heavier rifle, I don't think it'd be too bad, but it wouldn't be something I'd be anticipating firing a lot of shots with. And if anything, just spend the money and put a good recoil pad on it. Christian Hackle, do you use controlled expansion bullets for hunting sambar? Most of the projectiles I use are Hornady, and most of them are probably similar to an SST or an ELDX. So, look, in all fairness, when they're running fast at close, I wouldn't class them as controlled expansion. They're pretty explosive. But as they get further out and slow down, they're definitely what I would class as controlled expansion and quite effective at longer ranges. Wayne Atkinson, how are you, mate? Maybe a dumb question. No such thing. And one I should know the answer to. For a selected cartridge, are the powders listed in the manuals ranked as most suitable to least suitable? No, I don't think they are, really. I think that's something that you usually find out from look, doing a bit of research, but forums and whatever. Sometimes you can find out whether a certain cartridge is better with a slower burning powder or a faster burning powder, and then you can look at which one of those powders is slower or faster. But in most cases, they just put up with what's been tried, and look, to be honest with you, it's just a starting guide, most of these. I used to find that Nick Harvey's book was probably closer to the mark with a lot of the loads, and he was a wealth of knowledge, Nick, and basically his book, if you can get onto that, it may be worth cross-referencing too. Chris Oda. G'day, Robbo. My family and I hunt once a year on private property. We've been fortunate enough to do this for the last 25 years. Unfortunately, we've had to cancel the trip for the 3rd time this year, mate. I feel your pain. Hold on, let me just go down here a little bit. I see you put more. And unfortunately, due to declining health of the friends who own the large property in New South Wales, we're probably unable to go there ever again. Massive shame. It's a beautiful spot and superb host. Mate, this is my worst nightmare in a lot of scenarios that, and there's a little saying that I always live by, and it's saying nothing is forever. So I guarantee you every time you've gone there, you've treasured it, and you just never know when these places, you will lose them or you'll lose access to them through a variety of reasons. And in this case, if those people are no longer there, you just never know. But the only thing I would suggest is if you're up there next time, get to know the neighbours. Most of them, if they know you're half decent people and whatever, you'll probably have access to their place as well. Chris P, I use a thermal spotter to find the foxes and bunnies, then light them up with the O-light. Yep, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to get into thermals, probably the cheaper option would be to have a O-light or a torch on your scope, on your rifle, and basically just walk around getting close to them with the thermal, and then just bang on that light and nail them. Right. Oh, yeah. Chris has put a few, but I've seen. All right. Cousin Random. Do you play with a 6.5 Creedmoor, well placed between 243 and 308 for most Australian game? Your thoughts? 6.5 projectile is a great option, and it's probably something that I'll look at maybe in the future. Whether I went the Creedmoor, most likely not. I think there's some other options that are slowly moving into the market that may have a little bit more oomph than that. Nothing wrong with it as far as a target rifle, but as far as if I was going to go to a 6.5, I'd want to get the best out of it. And again, I think, I know Nathan's got a 6.5 PRC, I think, so that's something that's very interesting. So jump on his channel again. I'll give him a fair old plug today, Nate. But he does know his stuff, and 6.5 Creedmoor, probably when it first came out, I thought, oh, this looks really good. But now, a little bit of time, I don't think it's probably the option I would choose. Bo Thompson. I don't know how you missed this, mate. I put a thing up on Facebook. Oh, don't tell me I didn't do it on Patreon. That'd be probably me. I forgot all about it. But sorry, mate. Right, let's scroll down a little bit more. Let's see. Jeez, it's easy to miss what's going on here. All right, let's see how we go. All right, Dominic Swab. There are also 50 cal air rifles here. Mate, the technology of these things and the way they make the barrels is quite interesting. So, I wouldn't be surprised they take down a small deer. And Demolition Ranch, fantastic channel. I'll have to check out them. But definitely, it's going to be something that has really reinvented the air rifle. And they're pretty high-tech. Jam, new to Sambar game. I'm using a 270 with 150 grain Hornady SST. Thoughts? Nothing wrong with that combination, mate. Put the bullet in the right spot. I always say it. Look, doesn't matter what rifle you use, what projectile you use, put it in the wrong spot, it's going to run. Put it in the right spot, it's going to drop. So I'd feel quite confident with that setup that you've got. High country aerial photography. Would you consider making an updated video on field butchering and pack-out methods with gutting? Well, first of all, I'm not the best knife man. Secondly, YouTube really are not nice to us hunting channels when it comes to that sort of thing. And to be honest with you, for me, it's not worth the grief. It's just simply not worth the grief. Luke Y. Recommendations for a small varmint rifle. Rabbits, foxes, full setup, scope, etc. Under $1,000. Oh, under $1,000, mate. Look, I think you're going to have to look at something second hand. Small varmint, rabbits, foxes. Don't give me an idea on range here. Look, realistically, $1,000. You're really pushing it uphill, mate. Especially to get something half decent. You could go out and buy a CZ in a 22 mag and possibly put the balance of your money on the best scope you could afford. But I wouldn't. I think you're gonna have to spend more than that myself. RC, do you reckon the Garmin Rhino is due for an update? Perhaps InReach could be added to it. We've often talked about this. The Rhinos themselves, when they're working, they're good. They do tend to be quite buggy and have their own issues. The idea is great, and the current model has still got similar bugs that I've found to the original. So hopefully, update with an inReach. In all fairness, so it might just make it more buggy. So I don't know if I'd want to have all my eggs in one basket. And to be honest with you, either a separate unit, I'm quite happy to have that, whether you've got a separate EPIRB or inReach for the cost of them. I don't think I'd want all in one, to be honest with you. Peter Bradford. Hey Robbo, just picked up a new Tikka camo stainless in the 300 WSM for Sambar down your way. Will be used for short and long range. Tell me the scope of choice for it. Well, how long's the piece of string, mate? How big's your budget? That's the big thing. If I was to pick one, look, I've tried a few different scopes on my sort of rifle that'll be in a similar boat. Look, if you have the money, go out and buy a Swaro Z8 in, I forget what one it is, 1.7 to 12, whatever. Ben's got one on his blaster, and it's brilliant. If you want to come back to the fray a little bit, I'm still very happy with the 2.4 to 12 Z5 Swaro. But other than that, look, realistically, you don't need a lot of zoom for Sambar deer. I would look at your bottom end more than the top end. Anything over 12 is going to need most likely a parallax adjustment on it, which is just another thing to worry about. Look, realistically, look at the wider field of view so you don't limit yourself. I wouldn't personally go over maybe 2.5, 3 on your base power. And in reality, I don't think you need to go over 15 in your top end. And then realistically, it comes down to how much light it's going to let in, and then down to weight. But definitely, look, your top of your range, Swaro, Zeiss, Leica are all going to be options that you should look at. Stan Long Range Pensioner Mans. Hi mate, have you tried the Bagara B13 in 4570? No. It was, when I bought mine, I think there was only 4 calibers, and I think 2 of them were 4 options. I think 2 of them were 308 actually. So no, but it'd be a potent little thing, that's for sure. Let me just scroll down here. Right. Justin White. Hey Robbo, have you heard any news of Parks testing 1080 on the deer population? Yeah, no, I haven't, but nothing would surprise me. Heath Griffiths. Have you brought a Kestrel 5700 yet? No, I've thought about it, and to be honest with you, if we were still doing a lot of long-range bunny busting, I would probably go with the latest Kestrel that is all-in-one. And if this year we start going back to some of the locations that have got big numbers of rabbits, I'll definitely probably looking into it, because I know a couple of friends, and one of my patrons has got one. I don't know if it's that exact model, but pretty impressive. Jack's Green. I got a 5-inch 5.56 barrel. Only issue is I hammered the gas block roll pin in crooked, and the tube is sideways. But air still blows through the gas tube to the barrel when I use a straw. Good on you, Jack. Slay School. Were you affected by the mouse infestation? No, not at home. But, when we're up in the northeast of Victoria, let's just say I got about 250 in the month I was there. And that was just trapping them. A bit of fun. Michael Hurricane. Evening, sirs. Nice to catch you live. Thanks, mate. Wayne Fryer. Want to support Australian made. Is the LA105 worth it in your opinion? No first-hand experience myself. I believe they're quite weighty, but besides that, no, I haven't had much to do with them. So I really couldn't give you a a clear and concise answer there. Michael Hurricane again. Steve, your thoughts? Seiko S20 or Tikka T3 Super Varmint? The S20 I have fired, and I have held one with the 2-position trigger, which I wasn't a massive fan. Another with the standard trigger, which was actually really good. Whether I would put the extra coin into an S20 over a Tikka, I'd probably buy the Tikka, to be honest with you. Put the money again into a better scope. That would be my thoughts on it, because the Tikka, look, they're both going to shoot, but the Tikka is just great value, especially in that orientation. The other option, what you could do on the Tikka, is put a replacement stock on it to bring it back into sort of better in the prone position. Those was it the Berserk stocks are quite good on them. So yeah, I really struggle to go past the Tikkas because they just shoot. Just great value for money. See, ever done or thought about doing any waterfowl hunting? Nah, I don't eat them. So look, I've shot ducks and that over the time, but yeah, not my sort of thing. I just shooting up in the air doesn't float my boat. Shane Villas just saying they're allowed to spotlight deer here in New South Wales. Well, we can actually spotlight them down in Victoria under permit too, but it's, yeah, there's difference. Again, it comes down to hunting and shooting. If you want to hunt them, well, it's not in that scenario. But if you've got to shoot them as a primary producer, well, you've got to do what works and what's within their rules. Rover Silver, where did you get the springs for the Lithgow trigger? Oh, I think I just looked on eBay. I think, mate, just type it in, you'll soon find it. Yeah, there's plenty on offer. Bodie Keenan, do you like the 300 Win Mag rounds, Steve? Never owned one. Shot them. Certainly in the wrong configuration, they can be quite a savage rifle in the felt recoil. Certainly not as nice as a 7mm Rem Mag, but as far as hitting power, if you hit something with them, then they'll, and hit them in the right location, they certainly hit with authority. Okay, Kylie's keeping Richard and me in line. When do you think there'll be another hunting show at Sandown Racecourse? I don't know, Kylie. In all fairness, I don't know if there ever will be one back there, or not in the immediate future. And obviously the Wild Deer Expo has been cancelled, which is just a shame, because it would have been great to catch up with everyone and get back to a little bit of normality. So we can only hope that that's on again next year. And to be honest with you, I think the Bendigo location is quite good at the right time of year. Bo Thompson, we'll have to seek your expertise to upgrade the trigger on the CZ457. Any recommendations? I haven't done one on those, but there used to be like a little tube spacing kit for the old CZs. I'd just do a bit of a search again. You'd be surprised what pops up on eBay. But if you have trouble, I'll try and help you out there, Bo. Adam, tell me where you hunt for deer. In the forests. Other than that, if you think I'm going to tell you where you're hunting deer, you're dreaming, brother. Phantom HD, what do you think about Lee Deluxe reloading kit? I don't really think about them, to be honest with you. I tend to spend a little bit more money and get a little bit better quality. Lee is okay, but I found their tolerances on a lot of the gear is not as good as, say, the Redding, RCBS, and definitely Forster and so on. So it's sort of thing, buy once correctly, buy well. Paul Ayres, how are you, mate? Forgot about the time difference. Oh well, you South Australians a little bit slow. Sorry, mate, just kidding. Right, let's scroll down again, see if I can do this without losing everyone. Oh, there we go. Where are we? Blimey, there's a few on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all these. Christian Hackle, do you age your deer meat? If so, how long for? Usually if I can get them home in the fridge, probably weekend to weekend. So 7 to 10 days usually. That's usually enough to get the best out of the meat. That's with most likely skin on as well in the fridge. Michael O'Sullivan, how do you go when reloading for your Tikka, seating close to the lands, bearing in mind it's going to be too long for the magazine, or are you not bothered with this? Mate, personally, look, I seriously think all this seating to the lands, magazine length and all that gets a little bit overstated. I've had most of my rifles that I need absolute precision out of them. I can get them to magazine feed and still shoot probably better than I can. And in most cases, I'll shoot half minute of angle or lower if I do the rest of the tuning. So when you're reloading, don't get too carried away with this. Just look more at your consistency of how you reload. And I think you'll find you'll be able to get it to shoot at magazine length. Chris Oda, any suggestions on a fix? Not sure if company will come to the table. Getting spots of rust out of nowhere. Getting rust out, mate. There's only one way to fix it. Don't allow it to get in there in the first place. Rust, for anyone that doesn't know, for every one layer of, well, let's just say for every 7 mil of rust, not that you're going to get 7 mil of rust, you've lost 1 mil of metal. That was the old theory. So, yeah, you don't want it. So avoid it with oils. Prevention where you can. Velvet Flexmarks Call, seen in your vids being used with success. I've tried it on bedded stags and hinds with nothing given. Do you think it's situational? I've heard of stags coming to them. Yeah, look, it's just the same as in reality to fox calling. Some days they just all run in. Other days, nothing comes in. So I don't have an answer for which is the best time or when, but it's certainly worth having one. And if all else fails, or you're in a situation, which I was in recently, where I'd virtually filmed all day long, been honked and whatever, which is a bit of a trade-off when you're filming and talking and whatever. And then in the end I thought, oh, I'm just not going to be in the game here. And then I just got into a location and a couple of Sambar that I'd seen move off. I knew they were still probably doing what they normally do, hold and just wait until you pass and then honk you as you're going. I just let go of the whistle and it was enough to get that young spiker to come back, have a look, and it was to his, he paid the ultimate price in the end. So definitely worth having. Whether they work all the time, I think you've got to look at two scenarios with them. One is seeing something move off and then basically using it to maybe get it to come back so you can get a shot. Or two, getting high in a gully or something first with the wind right. And if you're sitting and you're glassed and you can't see anything, it doesn't hurt to let rip with the whistle to see if something stands up and moves off. So definitely have their place. Lukey Davis, how are you, mate? Good to see you got your butchering thing sorted out. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you come up with there. High country aerial photography. I swear by the SST and the 7mm mag. Bit brutal on the smaller fallow though. Yeah, they're potent. Look, they get a bad rap by a lot of people, but personally, readily available. Put them in the right place, they do the job. Oh, g'day, Aaron. Aaron Pearson. I believe it's listed by burn rate in the manual. Maybe wrong. Aaron, you're probably on the money. I don't tend to look at that. I tend to just go with velocities. I'm a bit of a speed freak with every caliber. I tend to go for something that's going to give me the best out of it. So I just look at the fastest ones and then see if I can get them to shoot well. Joe O'Callaghan. G'day, Joe. Love your work, Bobby. Thanks for all you're doing. No worries, mate. My pleasure. Any ideas where I might find a carbon stock to suit a 85 Grizzly? Getting mixed reports. The Kiwis, mate. Probably, maybe send Nathan. He's been getting the he's getting a big rap tonight. Oh, Nathan, hope you're watching, mate. Yeah, because he's just recently put one on a Tikka, and I'm pretty sure they make them for the Seiko 85, and that stock that he's got, the brand eludes me at the moment, brand name, but send him a message, mate, and just ask him. He might be able to help you out. William Rousseau, don't you use burger bullets anymore for hunting? The only well, actually, I did use burgers in both my 204 and in the 7mm Rem mag. Still got some loaded for the 7mm Rem mag. I just found at distance I was getting a few pass-throughs with the burgers. And then I think what was it, the 204s? I think they were a 30 or a 35 grain. I just found they were fast, so deadly accurate, probably the most accurate in the 204 and the little 85. But they probably weren't, they were actually a little bit hard to pill, and they often tore through rabbits, and not as explosive as, say, my favourite, and that was the Sierra Blitz King, the 39. So I went away from, but accuracy, the little burgers, and in general, burgers are very well made pill. Whether they suit your purpose, I think it comes down to getting the weight, speed, and your selection on your target right. And I obviously didn't get it right. Well, it wasn't good enough for what my purpose was, so I went back to Hornady. What have we got here? Ross Murray. G'day, mate. Hi, Steve. I have a 270, but thinking of an upgrade to 300 Win Mag or PRC. Do you rate them on bigger deer? Well, they're definitely going to have a lot more punch, and the PRC is starting to get a fair name for itself now. Definitely going to have a lot more punch than your 270, but again, don't want to sound like a broken record. Shot placement and bullet selection is always the go, but you will get a bit more range with heavier hitting power of those two 30 cals you mentioned. But it also comes at a cost as far as felt recoil and knowing how to shoot them correctly. I'll just scroll down a little bit more. Stuart Smith. He's just replying to Chris Oda. Good on you, Stuart. Eric Hunter 243. I've been using a thermal spotter and red light torch on a scope. Works a treat, mate. Certainly got their place. Ian Lana, which software do you use when you're editing your videos? Adobe Premiere Pro primarily, and yeah, there's a few other software that I use, but primarily Premiere Pro. Rob 14539. Hi Robbo, long time, first time. G'day mate. I've noticed in your video Lee has a very interesting looking tactical yeah, I know. What brand is it? Well, look, I could say something, but I'm going to get in trouble. I just say G's are us. Probably make them, but yeah, it suits his application. But if I ever get a chance, so I'm going to throw it to the shit house. All right, Robin Caker. Is Mrs. Robbo enjoying your company this time of year? Are you slowly working your way through the to-do list? Well, she's the most tolerant person. That's why she's married me. We've been married for 30 years now, and she's the soul of the earth person. Puts up with me and knows how passionate, like most hunters, that I am. And yeah, love her to death. Bodie Keenan, YouTube doesn't like any blood. Exactly, mate. Exactly. It's just, look, if I could only tell you how hard it is to keep a YouTube hunting channel afloat. When they decide they want to come after you, it's not just one video here and there. So yeah, it's a challenge. Let's just say that. But at the moment, there's a lot of good Aussie hunting channels out there that are fighting the fight. So, Jake Hart, what do you reckon would be a good pair of binoculars for Sambar stalking? Well, Jake, look, realistically, I've got to know your budget. What I can say is you do get what you pay for, but don't count out secondhand. And I recently picked up a pair for my wife, actually, of the Meopters. What are the new ones called? I can't think of the name off the top of my head now. Optica. and both the 8s and 10s are physically the same size, and for the money, which I think are around 600 Australian, pretty bloody good. So, but in all fairness, the other option, and I'll give credit where credit's due, get on to Josh from Maven, and there's some very good value binos there. Have a chat to him. All right. High country area to the fellow asking about 270. I'll let you go through that. Zach Barthelson. Hey, Robbo, love the channel. Do you have any experience hunting New South Wales, Queensland? Love to hear results. Yeah, both. Not as much as obviously in Victoria. We've done, the boys and myself have done a few trips in the middle of Queensland. Haven't been up there for quite a few years now. We've got a lot of private videos. We've done week-long trips up there and loved it. Absolutely loved it. But no, it's just, look, you know, we still all work. It's hard to get time to invest in travelling so far. And if you do, I won't go up there just for a day or, you know, a couple of days. I want to make it like at least weekend to weekend or a 10-day trip. So, yeah, look, it's the few times we've gone up to Queensland hunting pigs and whatever, it really comes down to the conditions because we don't hunt with dogs up there. If it's dry and you've basically just got to find the water, you'll find the pigs. But if it's wet, well, they could be anywhere. So we've had a mixed few trips like that. Some have been really good. Some have been a lot of travelling with very little result. RC, what's the total weight of your carbon Tikka 7mm? Off the top of my head, I think it is 3.1 kilo, I think, or 3 kilos. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it's at. Lockie Thomas, hi Rob, been looking for a good private property for a while. How do you and Lee get such good access to all these private properties? Hard work, mate. More so of Lee over years, and then once you get onto one, look, well, actually, when I say hard work, it's first of all, you've got to represent yourself well. Secondly, you've got to be an asset to those owners of the properties. In other words, you've got to listen to their issues and don't just go up there because you want to shoot a trophy stag or something like that. You've got to find out where their problems are and you've got to come up with a method of eliminating or at least reducing those properties better than anyone else can do it. And for years, we were half decent at getting rid of fox numbers between spotlighting, whistling and whatever. And then, you know, you get onto one property and that owner talks to the neighbours and so on. And look, if you do the job well, it's no different to being a tradesman, mate. If you're good at your trade, everyone will want to use you. If you're not good at your trade, let people down, well, it's not going to last too long. So it's just a matter of putting the time in, getting the foot in the door on the first location, and then you'll be surprised. You do the right thing, and, you know, it can be, you know, sort of one thing happens and then it'll just flow on from there. Rossmar, have you checked out Born and Raised Outdoors YouTube channel? Both hunters in USA, great stuff. I think I might have stumbled on them a couple of years ago, but I don't. Look, to be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of YouTube. I simply just don't have the time, but every now and then I've been watching a bit of Gritty lately. I just like the way he films it. It's really good. All right, if I get a chance, I'll check it out, mate. Nicholas Jorgen Zijowski. Geez, Nicholas, you've challenged me with that surname, but I hope I've got it close. Hey, mate, just picked up a Tikka 223 and was wondering about storage in terms of how much gun oil to use and if you should buy a sock or anything else. I've got a dehumidifier and so in the garage. Look, a light patch if you're going to store it for a while with a very fine gun oil is well worth it. And the silicone socks, most of my firearms do stay in those now. And what I do after every after every couple of times that I pull them off, and usually they get turned inside out, I'll spray some sort of WD or something, just a light mist over them, and then just put it back over. And then, yeah, just some form of dehumidifier or a water absorption unit in there. Just keep on top of them, just check them. Because rust, it doesn't give you any warnings, that's for sure. All right, Dominic Swab. Ever shot any of the 9.3 range? Thoughts? I inherited a 9.3, don't use it much, but it's a beautiful rifle, but I reckon it's a bit overkill for Sambar. Ben has got a 9.3 and a black bear. I can't remember whether I've shot that or not, but I don't know, to be honest with you. So I'm not even going to say, but from what I've heard, most people say it's pretty equivalent to sort of a shotgun, sort of a heavy load in a shotgun, not too savage, just it's like 3 bears, just right. Okay, Chris, any thoughts on element scopes? Well, before I go any further, no, nothing of them, mate. Vortex quality lacking. Vortex quality is lacking these days. It's the first I've heard of that, so I haven't bought. The only Vortex I have is a spotting scope, and it's one of their early ones, and I've been very happy with it. Jake Hart, what do you think of a 243 caliber? Well, mate, it's not called the Pope for no reason. Jeez, I scroll down, it shoots up. Pretty much can do everything with the right projectile, and it's very versatile from your sort of your high 50 grain projectiles right up to sort of your 100 grain projectiles, and at speed. So if you're a one gun sort of person in a centerfire, certainly not a bad option, but they are heavy on barrels, and throat erosion can be inherent issue with them, especially if you don't look after them. Great Southern Land. Good evening, Rob. Good to see you back on live. Cheers, mate, from Warrigal. Kind regards, Paul Sleep. Good on you, Paul. Thanks, mate. Chuck Norris. What about 22 Hornet? Well, look, in all fairness, 22 Hornet over the years always suffered from thin brass. I don't know if they've improved that. It's far from probably what I would class as up there with a 223, 204, 222. But the 17 Ackley Hornet always intrigued me, and I'm not a massive fan of 17s, but that 17 Ackley Hornet based around a cartridge was sort of something that, I thought was good. But in all honesty, I think there's better options than the 22 Hornet nowadays. And I say that from availability of componentry, especially your brass. I don't know how. I haven't seen 22 Hornet brass new, excuse me, for a long time. Who do you think will win state origin? I don't care, mate. I'm not into the rugby league at all. Maywell. He's just responded to Justin White. Hi, country. How did me and Lee meet? Through a mutual friend, mate, that I've been shooting with for years. He's got a mate that would like to come shooting, and he came up once, and that was it. We've hated each other ever since. Oh, Matty Cato had to remind you that I was on live. Well, if you call this live, well, I'm not dead, but I feel like I'm dying. I tell you, I'll have to get another bloody Pepsi Max, I think. Good to see you on, Nath. I've given you a bit of a thumbs up tonight. So, you want to, again, I'm going to give you another bloody pat in the back here. Some of these videos of late are just fantastic. Michael Hurricane. You hunt deer in the forest. Glad you're giving all your secrets. I needed a laugh. Yeah, I needed a laugh too, mate. I think everyone does at the moment. Chasing giants. Slow South Australia here. What's the best value lightweight 2-man tent you've seen lately? The lightweight part is probably the hard thing. I think if you go too lightweight, you're losing strength. Look, I've been quite happy with my One Planet Gundi 2. I think it's around 2 kilos. There's a lot of tents that are similar. I haven't personally used them, but look, you do get what you pay for. Look, one of the boys has just bought the QU. He's bought the One Man in that. It's quite a well-made little tent, but the price usually reflects the quality of the tent. But for me, One Planet, Australian company, I had no question about buying that. And realistically, I just had it set up the other day, ready to check that it was all good to go. And besides the elastic going a little bit soft in the actual poles, which is not a deal breaker, easily replaced, it's ready to go. And it comes with 4 different options, as in internal wall thickness, how much mesh, and outer, how heavy you go. And the good thing with them, if you do tear one part, I'm pretty sure you can still go and buy a replacement just for that part. No. Tom Fox, thoughts on a 450 Bushmaster? No thoughts on it. Be a hell of a big caliber, but no, nothing of it, mate. So can't help you there. Where are we? Oh, itchy nose. I know what it is when I get on here. All right. George Soteropoulos. Geez, George, I hope I've said that right. Good evening, Robbo. How are you? George here. What are your thoughts on best cull for fallow deer? Thank you. Well, in Victoria, the minimum is 243, 80 grain. So, in all fairness, what's the best caliber? Any legal caliber that you feel confident using. And that's the key with no matter what you're hunting. You need to be prolific with that rifle, so you know where you're going to be able to hit at any range. You do that, and if it's legal, you're in with a chance. So look, realistically, anywhere from 243 upwards. I don't think there's any need to go bigger than some of the 30 cals, to be honest. Fallow are quite a light deer, but in the rut, they're pretty tough. When they're amped up, though, too, they can take a bit of knocking over. But, look, right shot, right placement, they're in trouble every time. Jake Hart, what do you reckon would be a good choice for a budget bow for Sambar stalking and what pound? Jake, I haven't used a bow for quite some time now. The last one I had was a Bowtech Allegiance. They had some issues with limbs and breaking and that. But I think if you stick to your Major Browns, your Matthews, your Hoyts and whatever, and just buy the best you can, you're going to go, and look, you buy the best you can, but not only that, buy it from not just a gun shop or whatever that knows a little bit about bows. Go to a specialist location that actually sells bows and knows how to tune them. That's probably the most important thing. Oh, what do we got here? Ross Mara, why do we not have elk in Australia? Couldn't tell you, mate. They haven't been introduced, but I've got a feeling there is small numbers of elk here too. Probably are suitable habitat, but they're not natives. Not that a lot of things in Australia are natives, but we tend to be a little bit more stringent in what we let in here now compared to 100 years ago. What gun is your favourite to use when hunting sambar? From Tommy Devlin. Depends on the ground I'm hunting. More open ground, I'd pick up the Tikka 7mm every day of the week. When I'm going in more closer areas and thicker stuff, I'm really fallen in love again with that little BA13 in 308 since I've put the little Z6 1-6 on it. That scope on that just reinvented it. I love it now. So yeah, either one of those depending on situation where I'm hunting. John Smith, have you got any experience with copper mono bullets? Thinking of swapping to monos and my 7mm for cleaner meat and better penetration. Most of my hunting is up close. Look, I've used the TDSX before, and to be honest with you, some of the sambar I've actually shot have been the closest. I've probably said this before, and they've probably run the furthest away. So I don't see any need myself as far as getting cleaner meat and whatever. I wouldn't be too concerned about that. You know, like the first thing you want a bullet to do is put that deer down without moving away. That's your first aim. So yeah, you put the shot in the right spot. You got a little bit of meat damage, that's part of it. Just cut it out and go with it, sort of thing. Richard Haver, put a small balloon over the end of the barrel to stop the moisture. Yeah, that's one thing you can do. But just remember to take it off at the end of the day. The same with tape. Just be careful when people tape their barrels and they'll leave it in a moist scenario over a weekend. Moisture will get under that tape. So I'd like to take the tape off at the end of every day and then redo it in the morning again. Joe O'Callaghan, yeah, no problem, mate. Hope I can help anytime. John Smith, follow up to my question. Would you rather pass through or projectile stop under the skin? Neither. I'd like my bullet to go through, get into the inside and explode. It just makes more sense to me. You want that bullet to be like a grenade. You put it in the right place, it goes in and explodes. That animal's going to go a lot less than something that you believe is pass through. Look, if you've got a massive cannon and it passes through and you get a blood trail, fine. But I've had a lot of shots where the bullets haven't completely passed through, all right, stuck on the opposite shoulder, and you don't really get a blood trail for maybe up to 50 or 60 metres away from where they were shot before they actually start pumping it out. It can be up to 5 or 10 seconds before the blood will actually start to pump out of the hole, depending on where it's shot and size of hole. But in all fairness, I prefer a projectile that goes in and then just detonates. You do that at the known location. Like I said, at closer ranges, I'll often go right through the neck, breaking his spine, aorta, windpipe, or it could be all of them. And it's the narrowest part of, say, a sambar, for argument's sake. But I get a bit further out, or I'm not 100% confident in the hold on the rifle, I'll go for the traditional shoulder shot. But unlike a lot of people, I tend to shoot high shoulder. Again, I'd rather drop my deer straight away, put it on the ground, and if it looks like it's going to get up again, well, I'll get another chance to put another shot into it. All right, Pav087. G'day, mate. How are you? Let me just scroll down here again. Right. Okay, Pav. Hi, Robbo. Would you have an area you would recommend to a newcomer to start stalking sambar in Victoria? Look, there's sambar everywhere, mate. What I suggest you do in your situation is to join one of the ADA branches and just get involved with the people there, and you'll be surprised what you will learn and what many people will help you out with. And you may meet some lifelong friends. So, yeah, look, you can walk into any forest and there's most likely in Victoria going to be some amount of sambar deer. How many? How easy? Look, in the end, you just have to put your feet on the ground and just start doing it. There's no easy way to it, but probably the best way, I would say, join up with one of the ADA branches. And if you're down our way, Western Port branch, great bunch of blokes, drop in. You don't have to be a member to come to one of the meetings. Drop in and say good day. Pete, I plan to buy property in Vic near State National Park. How about a poacher's trespassing and shooting my stock? It's a definite issue. How bad? Certain areas are worse than others. Look, realistically, you've just got to use technology to your advantage. Make sure you keep your trail cameras out there, not just one or two, and just send a message really quick. Hey, Hill Dog, how are you, mate? How are you, mate? I hope you're travelling well. I hope you're enjoying lockdown. I know you'll be a very frustrated man too, but you're in some good location up there, so good to see you on, mate. SA Feral Shooter. All right, good to see you seeing the light with a 22 mag. It's certainly reinvented, mate, with the ammo choices of today. Chris McMenamin. For those after dehumidifying in their safe, I've had a dehumidifying rod in mine for years and has been great. Set and forget. Interesting, mate. Slow Diver. G'day, buddy. Robbo, can we go for a fox shoot? I met you at the SHOT Show a few years back. Would love to catch up again. And no one I know has time these days with kids. Yeah, well, mate, nothing is out of the question, but at the moment I can't even get out myself. So, anyway. Hey, Fernando. G'day, mate. It's good to see your name pop up. RC, do you find the Bracken gear to be better quality than Hunter's Element? I don't know. Look, I find with every brand of clothing, and the same with every brand in general, I like some of their products, but there's not many companies that I love all of their products. And yeah, look, some of the Brackenwear stuff is really good, and some of the Hunter's Element stuff is really good. So, yeah, I wouldn't in general say that one is better than the other. Look, each, like I said, some of the summer gear from Brackenwear is quite good. And like I said, I've got some of the Hunter's Element rain jackets, some of the earlier ones, and they're still going strong. So, yeah, look, it's horses for courses. You need to compare what range you're looking at and just see what's going to suit you better. So, no, wouldn't say one's better than the other. Christian Hackle, what size pack do you use for backpack hunting? Well, in this case, I'm just going to be using my old Macpac Cascade, which I think's about 80 or 90 litre. Way too big for me, but I'll try and reduce the weight this year. Tom Fox, thoughts on Sambar deer hunting with hounds? Well, it's something that I have never really been into, but it's a very productive way of doing it if you do it well. And there are some great hound crews out there. And in reality, when I see this heli hunting and everything that's going on to try and reduce deer numbers and whatever, in all fairness, a good dogging crew with the tracking collar technology and everything now would be so much more efficient in that area. So it's like everything has its place, done well, done legally. I've got every bit of time for a good dogging crew, and very, very emphatic as far as reducing deer numbers. As long as they do the right thing, go into areas where they should and keep out of areas where they shouldn't. No problems at all. Rover Silver, I've heard whispers there is a small populations of elk in Victoria. Yeah, I believe there is. All right, let's see. Deutbag, hey Pete, how are you, mate? Damn, I'm late. Sorry, yeah, you should be too. I hope you got a note. Maywell, love the vids. What are your thoughts on reducing number of introduced species for environment management and threatened species? Well, obviously a lot of our hunting, shooting is done around that. Obviously us reducing fox numbers is reducing a predator straight up for our native animals, which a lot of people have struggled to understand that. They just see them as a nice little furry creature. Rabbits, obviously in mass numbers, can have a lot of detrimental effects and again have to be controlled. I think it's, again, you're never going to wipe out all these introduced species, but we play a part in controlling the numbers. It's as simple as that. So if we do it well, yeah, I think hunters, shooters can be seen as a bit of an asset, and that's what we need to be seen as, in my opinion. Chris Das, thoughts on 357 open sights for a scrub done for deer or pigs? 357 is pretty much a pistol cartridge. If it was me, I'd be up in the ante, and hand loading a 44 mag, a little bit more punch, a little bit heavier pills, definitely would be my choice. Right. Jack me off. Here he is. How are you, Jack? Jack Hart, as Robbo said, go to Archery Pro Shop. Yeah, look, it's not the bow you buy, it's the backup and the setup. Getting a bow tuned for you is so important. So important. Jared Page, g'day. Just wondering if you could tell me where you got the Jared trigger for your Browning. Oh, the Jard trigger. Yeah, direct from Jard. I don't know whether you need a B709 or whatever now because it's a gun pup. I just bought it direct from Jard. A bit fiddly to set up though, I'll be honest with you. Right. All right. John Hunt, how is your shooting with the thermal scopes? Oh, when I set them up properly, yeah, it's really good. I made a mistake on it last time, and because you can set up for multiple projectiles, I must have altered one when I thought I was altering the other, and it's just out a little bit, and I was wondering why I was missing a lot. No excuses, my fault. But when they're dialed in, very, let's just say prolific as far as reducing numbers of ferals. Chris McMahon, perfect pronunciation of the surname, mate. Well, don't get me to do it again because I'll probably stuff it up, Chris. Yeah, the Chris slow diver. Yeah, the kids are worst kind of lockdown. Jared Page, autocorrect. Yeah, no, I gathered Jared. That's all good. Like I said, direct from Jard. John McLeod, first time riding. When will the ADA Western Port branch be meeting next? Can a prospective member come along to the meeting? Well, in the next, I think not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, we're supposed to be on. I think the boys will correct me here. We're supposed to have MSCs come down, give a talk, which would be fantastic. But I think we're going to be struggling at this stage. And to answer your question, can a prospective member come along to the meeting? Bloody oath, mate. You know, look, it's a great branch and great bunch of blokes. So definitely just roll up, have a beer, have a soft drink, grab a sausage, and just say g'day to the boys. You know, look, I'll be very surprised the first meeting. I reckon if as long as we're not restricted in numbers, I think it'll be a great turnout. And yeah, there's going to be some good events happening. Hopefully quite soon. So definitely, John, love to see you down there, mate. Stuart Smith, Chris McMahon, long time to see. Hope you are doing okay. I obviously know each other. That's great. Mark and Mel Whiteley, howdy, Robbo. I've seen elk crossed with red deer in Victoria, but not for some time. Yeah, I've heard mixed reports on that, so I can't be 100% sure, so I'm not going to say. All right, I think we might be coming to the end. Woohoo! Well, I shouldn't say it that way. All right, Doit Bag. Pete, Robbo, Friday night, Saturday morning, my mate's house in Hoggles Creek ended up with a bullet through their bus and into their house. An injured deer was found Saturday morning as well as a spent 300 Win Mag. Mate, it's, like I said, it's, what annoys me is to hear of this sort of thing. And what people got to remember, as much as this is poaching, the media will portray it as hunters and shooters. And we, as hunters and shooters, have to be right onto this. And look, if you know of any of it going around, you know who it is, mate, it's got to stop because it's just going to be the end of what we love. And as much as I'm using thermals and whatever for pest control, it will be abused if we're not careful. And this is what's got to stop, straight up. It'll just ruin it for everyone. Yeah, and Pete just flows on there to say, how do we stamp this out? Well, pretty much what I said. I've got no miracle answers. But I think in reality, trail cameras for starters. You just got to be if you've got property and you get in trouble like that, put more than one in, and basically don't be afraid to report it. It's as simple as that. It's a real concern for not only myself, but it should be a very big concern for every hunter shooter that does the right thing. Key to Productions, Marty is just saying here, always welcome new members down to the ADA Western Port branch, free barbecue and great raffles. What do you mean free barbecue? You always charge me. Oh, probably because I eat a little bit too much, maybe. No, look, Marty's one of many of the committee down there, and is one of the top blokes that make it a great branch. So definitely worth dropping down. Paul, good night. Thanks, Paul. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Chuck, no, sorry, couldn't resist. Alain Ramon, I think penalties should be harsher. Well, that's 100%. Like, if you look at the game wardens and that in the States, they don't muck around. Fully armed, literally don't take prisoners. I think hopefully it won't have to come to that, but it's certainly going to have, the ante's going to have to get upped to get on top of this. I can't even read that out. Yeah, Joe, here's the bloke, Joey Loyalotti. He drives the best part of an hour and a half, 2 hours to come down to our branch meetings with his son. And we love to have him there. And I know they've been on a couple of branch hunts and whatever. And look, it can be a little bit daunting at the start when you first come there, not knowing anyone, whatever. And just remember, all I can say to anyone that comes to these meetings, a lot of people say, oh, no one spoke to me or whatever. But it's just as important for you to get out of your comfort zone a little bit too. And I think a lot of it comes down to younger people today. Too much texting and not enough talking, not enough verbal communication. Come down to these branches. It's old school. You talk to the blokes. You can meet some fantastic people, and I can tell you now, they may not be able to help you there and then, but over time, someone in the club will be able to point you in the right direction and help you out. So definitely worth coming down to not only our branch, but if you just drop in. I'm sure all the branches are the same. Drop in. You don't have to be a member. Just say good day, introduce yourself, and see what comes of it. Paul is on there. Hey, mate. Oh, yeah, Paul. How's Dougie boy going? Paulie's just got a new little Weimaraner pup. He's got to fill out his skin, but he's replacing his old dog. I shouldn't say replace. It's hard to replace your old dog, Murray. But yeah, he'll be a great mate in time if you ever get him off Jay. John Hunt, where is the ADA Western Port branch range located? Well, there's no official range. There's no range there, but the actual meetings at the moment are down in Pearsdale. But if you jump on to the ADA's website, you'll be able to find it. If you can't, I'll get the address and everything for you. But jump on. Yeah, Pete's just mentioned it, in Pearsdale. Justin White, thanks for your time, Robert. That's fine, guys. Look, I haven't done this for quite some time. Probably a bit rusty. Hopefully it's come through half decently. I haven't rambled on too much. I'm happy to stay on as long as the questions keep flowing. And it's great to see everyone. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces. Hopefully we'll be able to talk face to face pretty soon. And it's lockdown. Nothing is forever, so we'll see what happens. But there's a couple more questions here. Hunting for sanity. What brand trail cams would you recommend? Well, it really comes down to where you're putting them. If it's in a chance that they're going to get knocked off, I'd go for the cheapest possible. If you really want some of the better sound and video and pictures, the latest Aldi one with a forward-facing screen was pretty bloody good, and I'd definitely buy another one of those. Tom Fox, have you ever done red deer hunting? Yes, mate. You'll see it on a few of our videos that we do shoot red deer. mainly for meat. So to answer your question, yes. John McLeod, would you still recommend your Tikka 7mm mag after your setup and review? Look, I normally prefer top feed rifles, as in you can open the bolt, feed them without dropping the mag out or whatever. But on a deer hunting rifle, it's not a deal breaker. The only thing that I would probably do and look into is modifying the Tikka bolt and doing the half cock position. Again, Nathan, if you're watching, you're getting a lot of plugs tonight, brother. But he's had it done on his little Tikka that he's had the barrel redone on, and basically allows you to put the bolt in the sort of horizontal or half cock position and then lock the safety back. So it's quite a good mod. To answer your question in general, yes, I would not hesitate to buy and set up that rifle again. For the cost point of the reliability of that rifle, hard to beat. And again, put the money into the optics. Deer hunting rifles, especially for me, are going to get knocked around. I need them to be able to handle that. And it's all good and great to have a great rifle, but then having weak mounts and a poor quality build scope, just because it looks nice to look through that scope, doesn't mean that the internals are rugged, going to handle a knock. And that's, to me, why I put more money into the scopes and realistically just tune my rifles and triggers to suit my needs and replace them when they start to fail. But in most cases, a deer hunting rifle is going to last you a hell of a long time, as long as you get it to shoot well. Oh, look, we've got a few more come up now. I'll just have to scroll back up. Anyway, John, that sounds like something we should talk about over a cold beer or something, one of the next ADA meetings. So hopefully I'll see you down there. Anthony Napolitano, lobby donate money to the main political parties. A self-imposed tariff could be a way to raise precious lobbying money. What I would like to see in Australia, look, I don't get in the political side of it much, but what I would like to see is one central organisation representing shooting and hunting well and in a modern direction in Australia. And possibly I'm not seeing that at the moment. Hopefully times will change and we will get something that I definitely wouldn't hesitate to not only put my support into it, but some financial backing to basically, represent us as we should be. Shane, give money to the main political... student wildlife ecologist. I would think the elk's required resource niche might not be met in Victoria. It also takes a lot of effort to establish a species in a new environment. Yeah, look, I don't think it's gonna happen. It's not a native animal, and you're not going to get it into Australia. So I'd forget that. To be honest with you, the only way something like that would happen is if they were farmed, and then they escaped and went on like that. Other than that, it's not going to happen. Doitbag, thanks for the effort, Steve. That's no issue, Pete. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up, like I said, face to face soon. Show us your hoodie. Well, it's only a demo at this stage. It's they may make something up in time. But anyway, okay, what do you got here? Phillies quarterback factory. Greetings from Germany. G'day, mate. How you going? Homie, it's great to see someone from over there. Be nice to see. It's got to be almost 12 hours different in time, I'd say. Well, you'll probably correct me here. But thanks for dropping by, mate. Can we buy the hoodies? Not at this stage, mate. I'm sort of been a bit slack. I've sort of half designed and then didn't like some of it. Sort of, so this one's just we'll see. In time, possibly, yeah. Paul, you always ask me good questions. I probably don't know 100% the answer. He's just curious to know if all deer species are introduced or any are native. I'll go out and say that all deer in Australia would be introduced. I'm not sure on the hoggies, but look, again, history and all that on deer is certainly not my strength, and I'll stand corrected. But yeah, I don't know 100%, but I'd say majority are introduced. Triple locked. Have you ever been checked when out in the bush by the various authorities? Probably not enough in the budget to be effective. Have we ever been checked? No, but I've bumped into a few of the GMA guys, and obviously, catch up with a few of the, other authorities, including the police over years. Just had a chat and whatever, but never officially been checked. But I will say to everyone now, just make sure that with your storage, your firearms and your vehicles, your ammunition and all that, just make sure you're up to scratch with it, because that's the last thing you want to lose your firearms license for. And one of the biggest ones that people often get done by is if they're out spotlight and whatever and fired a few rounds in the back of the ute and haven't picked up everyone, and there's been a live round in the back of the ute or something. That's something that people often get done by. They've got everything else done right, but they've just overlooked one round that's floating around the back, and it's tough love, but you'll lose your license over it. Ross Mara, would love to see you pop up a meat episode Down Under edition. You and Stephen and Vic High Countries. Mate, I've got a hell of a lot of time for Steve Ranella and Giannis and the whole crew. What they've done and how they do it is fantastic. And realistically, Steve Ranella, to me, I can only look up to what he does. A fantastic rider, gets his point across extremely well. Between him and Yanni and the rest of the guys, Cal and all them, and let's not forget there's quite a few women on there as well, and they do a fantastic job. And to be honest with you, I wish them the best, because they're just going ahead leaps and bounds. Love the show, love their cooking books, love their podcasts. Everything is just done professionally. And hopefully one day they'll venture down to Australia. I'd love to meet the man. George Solkis, what do you think of using a 30-30 for deer? Never been a big fan of 30-30. Okay for pigs, but even that, I think the 44 mags got loaded hot is probably a better round. So no, to answer your question, not a big fan. All right, let's scroll down a little bit more. I think we're getting near the... Oh, no, maybe not. I've dobbed Nathan now. Yeah, I told you, I'm going to pass them all to you now, mate. Look, I'm sure he'll let everyone know what the mod is and where to get it done. Good on you, buddy. ID Tomney. Looking to upgrade my binoculars and pay for quality. What are your thoughts on Zeiss 8x32? Look, let's get one thing right here now. You just can't say, what are your thoughts on Zeiss? What are your thoughts on Swaro? What are your thoughts on Leica and so on? There's different grades of every product, and a bottom end of one brand is not going to be as good as the top end. Now, in my case, I've got the old Zeiss 8x32 FLTs, which are their top end, and they are fantastic. Absolutely love them. And look, if you can afford those, and they're not out of your budget, you're not going to be unhappy. Get on to the boys at OSA, but whether you want to spend that sort of coin. It's up to yourself. But definitely the top end Zeiss 8x32s are fantastic. Nathan's, I've just given a little bit extra work, Nath, come on. Michael Hurricane. The amount of time I've spent reviewing scopes over this past few months is beyond stupid. I still can't come to a decision on a scope for deer near and farish, so the journey continues. Yeah, look, the top end scopes in the similar range, like the top end of Leica, top end of Zeiss, top end of Swarovski, pretty much flowing on from my last answer, are going to be very similar. In the end, you've got to look at what works for you, what company is going to give you the best backup, and I know what works for me, and that's why I stick in one direction. Not to say the others are bad, it's just that I know how good, some and the main products that I use are. Wayne Spateri, thanks for talking. No problem, mate. Pleasure. Great Southern Land. G'day, Robbie. Yeah, all good here, mate. Good to see you on here. Well, I've just, someone noisy voyeurs just said, yeah, I'm correct, they're all introduced. I thought they were, but I'm thinking there'll be one that I don't know about that probably wasn't introduced, but I was pretty sure they were. Look, to be honest with you, so many things in Australia are introduced. Hello there, LJ. G'day, mate. Yes. Phillies quarterback factory. I don't know if it's 12 hours, but it's 1 p.m. here. But I do really enjoy the channel. Thanks, mate. It's one place that in time I'd love to visit is Germany, probably for the photography, and definitely just like to have a look around a lot of Europe, maybe in time, but not at the moment. Great. G'day, Robbie. Sierra Game King's actually a hunting projectile for deer. Haven't used a lot of Sierra projectiles. Currently, probably the only Sierras I use are in the 204. And to be honest with you, I personally think Sierra are pricing themselves out of the game, at least here in Australia. They're just crazy prices. I'm actually paying more for my little 39 grain Sierra Blitz Kings for a 204 that I do for a 162 grain Hornady ELDX for the 7mm. So, yeah, look, they've always been very good projectiles. Anything that's got the name Game King, you'd want to think is a bonded projectile and designed for hunting deer, but I haven't used them personally on deer, so I can't give you an accurate answer there, mate. Thanks, Mark's 5 Fish. Thank you very much. Pete, does ammo need to be locked up in your car if you travel alone? Yes, the firearms are up the back and the ammo is up the front of the car. Is it okay to just have it out of sight in the glove box? Well, I would say no. As far as ammo, lock your ammo up, put it in a separate box, put it out of sight, put a padlock on it. Save yourself some issues. There used to be talk of a locked in a glove box was okay, but I don't believe it is. I'm pretty sure if they want to, they'll do you. Okay, Michael T. What is the ideal scope for near sambar hunting? Brand recommendations and magnifications. How far would you shoot with it? Well, I've really loved that little Swaro Z6 1-6, and it's sort of like using an aim point when you've got it on one power. It's virtually both eyes open, no magnification. It's just like a red dot scope. It is just fantastic. But then if you wind it up to 6 power, I'd feel quite confident. Like it's on that little Bagara, the 308. I'd feel pretty confident using that to 250, even 300 yards on a lighter deer. No problem at all. It's as clear as clear. I've also got one of the Carl's 1-5, very similar scope. Both look Not much, you know. I think there's about $500 difference in price. But just some of the things that that a lot of people don't realise what they do as well. Both scopes, when you've got the illumination on, when you're carrying the rifle vertically, it actually automatically turns the red dot illumination off. And as soon as you swing back to the shooting position, it turns it on. So, look, for me, that is one that is highly recommended, but not to say there's not plenty others, but definitely hard to go wrong with that. It's the brightest, widest view that I've ever used, and it's bloody fantastic. Right. LJ, hi, I'm new. G'day, LJ. It's good to see you on. We the people coming up to the NT sometime. Well, mate, I've got no plans of going anywhere outside my own backyard. At the moment, I'll be just happy to be able to head into the high country. And then in time, definitely. I reckon I'll probably do a motorbike trip up there, I reckon, at some stage. I'd like to cross the Simpson. Just a matter of getting the boys keen to do it and keeping the body up to doing it. So, Maywell, all deer introduced, yep. LJ, where do you live? Victoria. Maywell, Sambar deer are actually doing a lot better in Australia with populations on the incline compared to their home country. Yes, that's very true. Chris Das, would you be interested in coming to my farm in Flowerdale to stalk deer properly? Chris, get in contact with me, mate. You're not that far from me. I reckon we can make something happen. Matt Cato, Chris Dash, I'm... yeah, I might have to bring him with me. Bring on Matty Cato. He'll be bloody chewing me, bloody... chewing at me to go now. Yeah, Chris, just get in contact with me. I'd love to catch up because we do go up that way quite a bit. The thin brown Duke, I would be Chris. No, this I mean, look, this when you join the clubs or go to meetings or even this, there's some fantastic people, and look, some of the people you meet are going to be your friends for life. So yeah, definitely, it's great to see a lot of people up here willing to share and whatever. So. Wade Teresi, love your work, mate, from up here in Southeast Queensland group. Good on you, Wade. Shane Villas, in New South Wales, ammo has to be locked and chained in the car. Knives have to be locked away as well. Yeah, those knives, you got to watch them. All right, let's see. I think we're getting near the end. How long have we been going? Geez, 2 hours ago. It's quick. David Stokes. Hi, mate. Do you still have any stubby holders for sale? That's a good point. No, I've completely run out and I have to speak to someone to get some more made. So, look, there might be a few things coming up in the next few months. If I get my backside into gear, this work thing keeps getting in the way and there might be a few products coming up. So, we'll see what happens. Michael Hurricane, thanks for your time this evening, Steve. Look forward to another session. Have a great evening. Thanks again. Thanks, Michael, and thanks for being involved. It makes it. Let's just say everyone get on there. So, all right, guys. I think I'll give it a couple of seconds, but I think we're getting towards the end. I've only managed to scratch my itchy nose so many times. I think I've fumbled through it reasonably well. Corky's Bees, g'day, mate. Yeah, no, look, it's always my pleasure, guys. It's hard to know what, from my side of what people get out of these sort of things, where it's just going to bore people shitless, literally. And just bear in mind, it's all just my opinion, but a lot of it's through experience. And if I don't know, I will say it. There's no point pointing people in the wrong directions. And a lot of products I don't talk about, or whatever. It's not to say that they're bad or whatever. It's just that I've had no first-hand experience with them. And I know as people that are trying to buy things, it's very hard to know what to buy because everyone's selling theirs as the best. And in all fairness, this is where like the Wild Deer Expo and that are really invaluable. So when that does fire up again, all I can say is let's support all these sort of shows. And, you know, we'll do our best to be up there. And by all means, if you see us in a gun shop, you see us in these shows, don't hesitate to come up and say g'day. We're just average blokes, you know, always up for a chat. So, look, yeah, by all means, I'll talk hunting until the legs fall off, literally. So, yeah, so anyway, look out. We've got a few. I'm hoping they're just saying, yeah, look. All right, guys, I'm going to finish up there. Thanks again. Look, if there's anything that you want me to sort of do again with this sort of thing, I've sort of held off on it a little bit because it can be a little bit daunting sometimes doing these. But anyway, I'm not going to go on with it. But if there's anything that you could think as topics that we might be able to do in future, I will consider it. Thanks again to all the support. I don't say it enough. A massive thanks to especially my Patreons. They have really made a massive, massive difference over the time. So anyway, sayonara, guys.